Alright, check it out. This 2005 Raptor 660 popped up on Facebook Marketplace for $1,600. And this is what it says. It says 2005 Raptor 660 runs great when it starts, might be a carb issue. Don't know much about it. Open to trades for other ATV and dirt bikes. So here are the pictures of it. Doesn't look too bad. Looks pretty complete. A little JB weld on the cover there. Looks like decent tires. Like I said, doesn't look too bad. So we're gonna go pick this thing up and see if we can get it down to like 1,400 maybe. But that's not too bad of a deal. I'm guessing it's more than a carb issue, but we won't know until we start digging into it. So stay tuned, should be a fun video. Let's go pick this thing up. This is 2005 Yamaha Raptor 660, picked up for $1,300. I decided to offer 13 and they took 13 for it. So this thing has a lot of problems. I guess it doesn't run. I guess the carburetors were replaced, and the people said that it runs for a little bit but then just shuts off. Right now it doesn't start. You can see nothing happens, so that's not good. Let's see if when you hold in the brake, if anything happens. Yeah, not much happens. So it's either the battery's dead, the solenoid is junk, or the starter is junk on it. Not really too sure what's going on, so we'll have to diagnose everything today. Typically these quads go for around $2,500 to $3,000, so getting it for 13, you know there's going to be some issues. So we'll walk around the quad, go through all the aftermarket parts on it, which there's quite a few aftermarket parts, and then kind of do like the walkover of the whole quad and then see what's wrong with everything. So there's a couple spots in the quad that raise some questions, so it will be interesting going over the whole thing. This is really my first time going through the whole thing too. When I bought it, I didn't really look at it too closely. I looked at a couple things, but you know, for 1,300 bucks, what can you buy? You know, the engine alone's worth that. So I wasn't really too picky. So as we can see, it looks like it's got the stock pipe on there, but it looks like it goes into an FMF titanium 4 silencer. So that's pretty cool. It's got, what kind of bars are these? DG Nerf bars on it. This one's pretty bent up, so we'll have to try to bend that back. But these are pretty rock solid on here. I think we can probably bend that aluminum back. But it's got a pair of those. It's got an aftermarket grab bar on it. It looks like a DG grab bar as well. Not really sure what the brand is for that, but it's pretty solid on here. And then, not sure what brand that is for the front bumper. If anyone knows in the comments, let me know. It's got Pro taper bars, Pro Tech Racing gas cap on here. Looks like a different throttle cap. Looks like flames are on it. I don't know if that came stock or what, but it looks kind of like it's aftermarket aluminum. What else we got in here? It's missing the front plastic right here. Piece that goes right there. It's got a different shift lever on it. It says Pro Design Power Shifter. Pretty cool. Looks like a different chain guard, unless that came stock. I don't know if the flames were like the theme for back then in 2005. I'm not really sure. Pretty sure that's not stock though. ITP wheels. Tires are pretty decent. A little bit of tread left. Front ones don't have much tread. But what are these? These are just Yamaha wheels on here. I don't think the suspension's upgraded at all. In the back at all, I don't think so. Doesn't look like it. What else does this thing have? I think that's pretty much it for upgrades. And then even the oil filter has the flames on it. So that's very interesting. Then it looks like it's got updated coolant lines. What kind are these? CV4 coolant lines. And then it's got different carburetors on it. So that's the thing I'm a little worried about. The carburetors are aftermarket carbs. They kind of look like the Chinese ones, but they said they were OEM. So I don't know if that's true or not. We'll have to take a look. Then there's some JB Weld right here, or gasket maker along here. So I don't think there's a crack in the case anywhere, but we'll have to see. Usually if there's a crack, they'd probably use JB Weld. But hopefully there's nothing on the cylinder right here. And hopefully the case isn't cracked or anything. Because we already dealt with that with the Yamaha YFZ 450 we had. We'll see. And then there's a little crack right here on the starter cover, which isn't a big deal. You can just buy the new cover for it. And then this piece of plastic must have fallen off, so they cut some aluminum and made something out of that. Chain and sprockets look pretty good, except it's a cheap red chain. At least it's oiled up and stuff. That's good. Rolls really smoothly. I think the brakes all work on it. Yep, brakes work. Back brake work. Yep, I think. Yep, back brake works. So really, we just have to figure out what's going on with this quad and see why it won't start. I mean, one reason it probably won't start is that the carburetors are off of it. You can see they're not even bolted in. So that probably didn't help the starting process on this. Yeah, so I guess let's take a look underneath the seat and see what's going on with the wiring. It's always a mystery what people do to their quads. Let's see here. See what's going on. Seat looks pretty decent. No big rips or anything in the seat. So that's good. Looks like it's got a nice K&N air filter in here. You can see this is just zip tied on. So that probably doesn't help much. That's not making a good connection. That might be the problem right there. And then this wire is kind of loose in the connection area. You can see it's just moving around in there. And then this wire is barely even on there. And the solenoid wires look like they're pretty tight, but this one's really frayed. That's making a really bad connection right there. So that definitely needs to be fixed. We'll check the fuses, but I'm thinking those are fine. Yeah, that one's fine right there, the fuse for the solenoid. But yeah, so I think the first thing we're gonna do is get this all cleaned up, get a bolt on here, so that makes a good connection, and clean up some of these connections, just so that we know it's not that causing the problem, which it could very well be causing the problem. I'm trying to look at the carburetors back here. Yeah, it looks like they couldn't get the carbs on correctly, and that's probably why it didn't start. Let's check the oil, I guess. See what that looks like. Not much oil in it, pretty low. Basically empty on oil. Yeah, that's not good. Very low on oil. Check the coolant. So it's probably burning oil. Hopefully the coolant's not too low. And the coolant's low. I don't think there's anything in there. I don't think there's any coolant in there. There's a little bit. but it's definitely not topped off. So that is not a good sign either. Alright, so tightened up this connection, redid this connection, got that one to go. Alright, I was able to find one right here. Install that. Alright, that's all installed. Looking good, all the connections are good. Let's see if it cranks over now. I highly doubt it, but you never know. I bet the battery's bad. Alright, so it was the battery. Not enough juice in the battery. So it does turn over, sounds like. So that's interesting. Let's get all the plastics off and take a look at those carburetors. Alright, as we can see there's some water right here, so maybe it didn't start because there was water in the gas tank over there. And by the looks of it, it looks like water could go straight down that hole into the gas tank. You can see the hole through the gas cap right there. So I'm thinking maybe there's water in the gas causing some issues. But it doesn't help, like I said before, that the carburetors are not connected. It doesn't help at all, actually. There's a breather hose right here for something. I don't know what that's connected to. It looks like they didn't connect that up. But yeah, the carburetors are not connected at all. Let's take this guy off of here. Alright, now we can check for spark and stuff. Spark plug is right here. Try to get down there. Alright, looks like a newer plug. White at the tip, so probably wasn't getting much gas. Let's see if we have any spark here. Here we go, let's see if we have spark. Yep, we've got spark. Alright, so we know we have spark. I guess we can check compression next. Make sure that there's good compression. Alright, we've got the compression tester here. Alright, so far that's not good. We're not getting any reading on the gauge, so that would mean zero compression. So we got zero compression. That is not good. Alright, so no compression usually means that a valve is stuck open or bent, or they're just adjusted wrong so that the intake are always open, causing zero compression. You know, usually when it has like some compression, it would mean rings. So it has zero compression, so I kind of know that there's a valve that's either bent and stuck open, or that the valves are adjusted incorrectly, leaving those valves open. So we're going to check out the valves quick, take out the valve cover here, and then there's two caps down there for the valve. So let's check those out first, see if those are in spec. We got to time this thing up though, and get this thing to top dead center before we check the valves. Alright, so now we're going to twist this over until we find the T mark, which I think it's already on the T. I think it might be on the T already. So we're looking for the T. Alright, so when I turn this over, it looks like there's an I and an H mark. So we're going to line it up with the I mark. The H mark is right before top dead center. We want the I mark, which is just a straight line. And we want that right there. See if you guys can see that in there. I highly doubt you will be able to, but you guys can see that in there. Just a straight line. And that's where you want to be. We're going to go up here and get these covers off. These valves are so far off. This one's got a huge gap in it right here. This one's got a small gap, and this one's got no gap. So very, very odd. I'm gonna rotate the engine over, see what happens here. Feels really weird in there. It doesn't feel like there's play, but there is a bunch of gaps, so it doesn't really make sense here. You guys can see the gap in that one. I mean, look at that. I mean, they're all open. That one's open a ton. Very strange. We're gonna try to get the other caps off. Alright, so getting off the exhaust valve cap, that broke right off. It was really, really loose on there, and then I just basically put my wrench on it and it just snapped in half. So the other one came off cleanly, but the gap in there is very small, so definitely needs to be set. I don't know if it's going to be the valve gap though. I loosened these up so those click, but the exhausts are pretty tight now. So we'll go look up the specs, set those up, and come back and see if there's compression. Alright, so valve clearances for 2005 Yamaha Raptor 660. Intake is 0.1 to 0.15 millimeters, and the exhaust is 0.15 to 0.2 millimeters. So let's set that up and adjust those valves. Alright, something's going on here. So I adjusted the valves to spec here, and then I rotated the engine around one more time, and now it won't rotate all the way around. It's almost like the timing is off or something, because it's now the valve is hitting the top of the piston. So I think it's this one right here. This valve is hitting the piston, and that's why that was so far off, that valve, because we adjusted them to spec and now they're not working at all. It doesn't really make sense. So I think we're going to take the cover off right here and just check out the sprockets, make sure it's all timed properly before we go any further. Because good thing I didn't try to start it, it would have wrecked the valve, probably bent the valve. And it could very well have a bent valve right now, which I think is what is the culprit. Alright, we're going to have to go through, take off all those bolts. Don't want to drop anything down there. Alright. There's a little wear on them, but not too bad. They're pretty smooth. So that's good. The valves look kind of weird, but I think that's just how they look. One straight up, two are sideways on it. I think that's just how it's built though. Ah, look at this. This is the culprit right here. Check that timing chain out. Timing chain's loose, so it definitely skipped time. That is the problem right there. Skipped time for sure. That's why it was locking up. Because when you adjusted the valves were hitting into the piston because it was timed incorrectly. So something with the tensioner probably failed. But yeah, timing chain really, really loose. Look at it coming off the sprocket. And that's the clanking I heard in there. Aha. So culprit found. We're going to take off the tensioner and see what that looks like. Maybe it just wasn't activated, or it could just be junk. Let's take that off and then try to get this set to the correct time. Yeah, I think that's all the way out. So, I think the timing chain is stretched really bad, which is not good. That means we have to do the timing chain. Fun. That means the whole side cover has to come off and everything has to come out. But that's probably good anyway, so we can check it all over. Alright, so this is what the timing should look like. So we've got the sprocket up here. Try to get a close-up shot of it. So the sprocket's right here. Now you can see there's a dot right there and a dot right there. Those need to be parallel to the surface of the head. So that's correct. And then you come up here and you can see there's an oil port right there and right there on the outside. You want to be able to see those. The cam lobes are pointing down. And then you've got a little dimple right here that needs to be pointing up. So basically cam lobes pointing down and it'll be good to go. And then those two dots lined up. Obviously have the eye lined up on the flywheel. And that's the correct timing. So for us, the cam chain is way too loose. So I think it's stretched. We're going to continue to tear this thing down, take it all the way down to the cylinder, and then check out the piston, the cylinder, the crank, check out everything, and then order up all new parts for it. Alright, we gotta drain the coolant out. Alright, next we're going to drain the oil because we have to take off the side cover. So the oil bolt is right down there. Gonna look for any metal shavings. That's a good sign, no metal shavings in there, in the oil. So most likely the crank and everything should be fine. This should come off now. Alright, we got the head off. You can see the piston in here. That is a big piston. So that's looking pretty decent. Not too bad. We'll have to see if that turns over. But let's check out the head. I'm worried about bent valves on the head. So let's see what happens here. Any bent valves on here? This is the one I was worried about, the middle one. So let's see. Because that's the one we adjusted in it. Yeah. That one's bent right there. See how it's coming up a little bit? So we got one bent valve. See the gap in there? So that valve is bent. So that needs to come out. Everything else is in here, it looks like. No other bent valves, so just one bent valve so far. It's not too bad considering how bad the timing chain was. So let's turn this engine over a little bit and see if the cylinder wall is still good. Alright, looks like the cylinder wall is good, no scratches on that at all. Alright, cylinder coming off. Alright. We'll get the piston up. We gotta get the side cover off though. And the timing chain out of there. Piston looks perfect. I just checked that out. No imperfections there. And then the crank has a little play back and forth, but no up and down play. So the crank is perfect as well. We lucked out there. So that is good. We're going to now take off the side cover and all these covers to see what the damage is right here. Cylinder over here is perfect. Not a single scratch on that bad boy. So that's really good. We also lucked out there. And having the piston be good saved us a lot of money. So piston and cylinder are perfect. Here. Alright, we gotta get the flywheel off. I don't know if I have the right puller for that. We'll check and then come back. But stator looks good. Flywheel looks pretty good. Alright, we got the nut off of here. But there's really no place for a flywheel puller. So we have to order up a special one for this machine. It looks like there's 3 bolt holes right here, so I'm guessing it's one of the triangle ones that you bolt on, and obviously it's specialty to this actual machine. So we'll order one of those up on eBay along with a top end gasket kit, a new timing chain, and then we will get a new valve and probably valve seals for this thing, because the middle valve right there is bent. So we'll do that, and this thing should be fresh and ready to go. Everything else looks good. The cam looks good. No worn sprockets or anything, so I think that's all perfect. Lobes look good and clean. No damage to the lobes. Rockers look good. So everything is looking pretty decent besides the one valve, which I suspected because there's zero compression. So that's why we didn't have any compression when we were turning over the machine. We got like 5 and that went back down to 0. It's because that thing's stuck open. And usually when you have zero compression, like I was saying before, one of these valves are bent or stuck open. And sure enough, intake valve was bent and stuck open. So anyway guys, that'll be it for today. Stay tuned for next video when we put this thing back together and replace that timing chain. This must be stretched a ton, because I mean it was really loose. So stay tuned for next video guys. Thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and until next time, we are out.